Hello, I'm Harley Schlanger. Welcome to our weekly interview with Helga Zepp-LaRouche. It's October 14th, 2020. We're going to begin today by talking about something which does not receive a lot of coverage in the United States or internationally, and that's the international food crisis. Last week, the Nobel Peace Prize was given to the World Food Program, and its executive director, David Beasley, said this gives us an opportunity to bring this to people's attention. But it's not getting much attention. And Helga, this is one of these crises that has already killed, according to Beasley, 7 million people from hunger this year, but another 30 million or more are threatened in the weeks ahead. So why don't we pick up on this and talk about this emergency appeal?
I think this requires an urgent mobilization around the world because, as Dr. Beasley said yesterday at a conference of the FAO in Rome, this is the worst humanitarian crisis since the Second World War. And, the situation is completely out of control because obviously, the worst affected continent is Africa. But also Latin America, naturally, and some Asian countries. This is a crisis which was clearly coming. It's not a surprise. Beasley warned of this many months ago. As a matter of fact, I think the first warnings he made was more than a year ago, and nothing was done. He said that the World Food Program needed $5.8 billion to, get the food to the places where it is needed. And this organization was only able to get 1.6 billion. Now, he made the point that, in a world where you have more than 2,000 billionaires who own more than 8 trillion assets, it could be easily solved. If they would all put in a little share, it could be solved. Naturally, they won't do that because they wouldn't sit on this kind of money if they would not enjoy the benefits of the system which is responsible for this crisis. So it does require an urgent mobilization because this is Beasley warned that if this is not reversed very quickly, it will lead to a mass famine of biblical dimensions. In earlier speeches, he warned that it could soon be a situation where every single day 300,000 people are dying of hunger. Then the second consequence he is warning of is a tremendous political destabilization, chaos. Entire continents plunging into a complete uncontrollable situation. And then third, a mass migration of the people who will be running away or try to run away from starving of hunger. So this is really a big crisis. And I want to read you a letter from one of the members of the LaRouche movement from South Africa, Phillip Tsokolibane, who made an urgent appeal. He called it a matter of life and death. And he says that he is not just speaking for himself, but he is speaking as a spokesman for all of the people who soon face starvation and who cannot speak on their own behalf. So he says there are now millions of Africans starving, starving thanks to a combination of deliberately enforced underdevelopment. And then, he basically says, humanity is facing the greatest crisis any of us has ever seen. It's time for those who have the most to step up to help those who have the least. This warning came from David Beasley, Executive Director of the UN World Food Program, on September 17th. He wrote 30 million people are now in danger from starving. And then Philip says, I want to stress this is not a matter of what will happen, it is already happening. And unless something is done and done soon, millions and millions of people will die in the immediate weeks. and months ahead, as Dr. Beasley warned, warning that up to 300,000 people could die a day. And then, I think you should look at this entire letter on our website and really distribute it widely. He then basically says that the problem is so big that it needs large food producing nations to basically use the military to bring the food in the areas where it is needed, because it's not just the big city, but it's the rural areas, remote areas where not even infrastructure is developed and where the delivery will be extremely difficult. And then he appeals to President Trump to respond to that, and basically says that this is a situation comparable to U.S. helping Europe after the destruction of World War II with an airlift. And I think that that is exactly the approach. Now, obviously, this is not very likely to happen right now, because we are in the middle of the last weeks of the election campaign, and the United States has a complete tunnel view where people only look at the election. But that is why, one of the reasons why we have talking about the need to have a committee to address that I call it the Committee for the Coincidence of Opposites, whereby health officials, retired doctors, nurses, police officers, universities should make partnerships with the respective countries in first Africa and then hopefully also elsewhere, to train young people on helping out as medical aides in a tradition of the CCC program by President Roosevelt, training people on the job and starting food health deliveries, teaming up with partnerships in Africa, but at the same time also organize the kind of food supply. You have an agricultural crisis in the United States, in Europe. You have many farmers who are losing their farm mainly because of the conditions they want to produce, but the cartels have created conditions which really ruin them. And when the COVID broke out, you saw that many of the meat packing plants immediately were infected because of the de facto slave labor conditions in these plants. So this initiative is supposed to team up health workers, farmers, and double the food production. I mean, the only way how you can combat this famine is you have to double the food production, and then start a tremendous shipment of helping the starving people, but that at the same time start infrastructure, a world health system, start to develop modern agriculture in cooperation of such partnerships. And I really would like you to look at this proposal, which we will link under this program, and get it around, because this is something where the moral character of humanity is tested. If we cannot mobilize in such an unprecedented humanitarian crisis to help, and as Beasley said in the speech yesterday, there is enough wealth in the world that not one single child would have to go hungry or even die if there would be a change in attitude and politics. And that's exactly what we have to accomplish.